Good afternoon, and welcome to the public presentation on the Environmental Impact Assessment Statement as it relates to the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, the leg that spans the road from Harborview to Yallas in St. Thomas. It's a very rainy afternoon here at the St. Benedict's Church, but we expect and intend to have a very fruitful meeting. This meeting this afternoon is a hybrid of sort because we are recognizing the issues as it relates to COVID-19 and the fact that we need to be socially distant or physically distant. We are also going to be joined by individuals on a Zoom because there's a Zoom link as well. We want to thank JNN through their mother station TVJ for also being a part of this meeting, beaming live into the homes of all persons who are tuned in, not just here in St. Andrew, St. Thomas, but also right across Jamaica. There is also, the meeting is also being streamed live on YouTube, and we want to welcome those persons who are watching there. We have a WhatsApp number that's 876-878-3651, and we are going to be facilitating questions from persons out there who may have questions as it relates to the presentation that you'll be hearing in very, very short order. I want to thank those persons who are present here. I want to thank the church and the church community for facilitating us here this afternoon. I want to welcome the members of the NAA who are here, our project manager, Mr. Alfonso Marshall, the director of major projects, Richard McCarge. We have, I see Peter Espute in the audience. We have residents from Mescar Gardens because this particular meeting specifically as it relates to the construction work that is going to be taking place by Mescar Gardens. And so we want to welcome the persons present and those who are joining us via JNN, YouTube, or the Zoom network. You are going to be hearing presentations from the consultant who is present but not present here. There's a virtual presence. The presenter will be joining us through Zoom. We also have an important member of the team, Stanley Consultants. Their director or project engineer, Mr. Andrew Evans, is also out there on Zoom. We have Stephanie Brownfield, who is present here in the audience, and we want to welcome those persons who are present in virtual land. Before I proceed any further, I want to invite the president of the St. Benedict's the Moors Church Council, Mr. Paul Zemeniz, to come forward and lead us in prayer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw. A pleasant good evening, everyone. I'm going to invite you to bow your heads in prayer, please. Eternal and righteous ever living Father, we come to you humble and meek. We thank you for all that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for the weather, Lord. We have been indeed in need of rain, and we are appreciative. We also appreciative of the fact that pretty soon we will have a major infrastructural changes on us, a better road which will link communities much better and serve to build the esteem of persons who will be able to make use of it. We thank you for all your graces, all the love you've bestowed upon us. Presently, our country is going through a phase of health challenges, and we pray that and know that with you in the midst, all will be covered. Lord, we pray that for those who are afflicted with corona, we pray for a speedy recovery. For those of us who are now healthy, we pray that they will be all able to abide by all the stated rules, and throughout this storm, we shall ride it out, Lord. We will ride this storm out. We pray for all your bountiful blessings on us, and we pray that all the plans we have, with all the discussions we'll have today, will be meaningful and will chart the course to those who have in their hands to fulfill these things, to make them manifest. We pray for your glory. We ask this through Jesus Christ, name, your Savior, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zimenez. I also want to welcome via Zoom the team from the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, and you'll be hearing from their manager for the Application Secretariat branch in short order. This meeting could not have been had without the blessings of NEPA. Now, my duty here pretty much is a very short one. You're here to hear about the plans from an environmental standpoint as it relates to the work that is going to be done specifically in the Mescar Gardens area, and to assist us in going through the rest of the meeting this afternoon, we have Mr. Alric Durant. So I'll tell you a little bit about your moderator this afternoon. Mr. Alric Lord Durant is a retired principal of the Tivoli Gardens High School, located in Western Kingston. Mr. Durant served the institution as principal for 4 years, and upon his retirement in August of 2018, would have given service to the education sector for a total of 39 years, principally as a classroom teacher at both the primary and secondary levels. At Tivoli Gardens High, Mr. Durant was responsible for a student body of over 1,500, a faculty of 84 with 138 staff members in all, including those who were employed as part of the auxiliary and admin teams. Mr. Durant took Tivoli Gardens High from a Category 3 to a Category 4 high school, the highest rated level on the island. He credits this to the modernization and redevelopment of the campus and the quality of teaching and learning under his tenure. New classrooms were added, the campus was secured, and the state-of-the-art air-conditioned reading, numeracy, and literacy labs introduced. Mr. Durant is also a highly sought-after public speaker and master of ceremonies, so you can see why he's here this afternoon, and have hosted several functions, entertaining and informing various audiences at graduations, concerts, weddings, and other public engagements. Today, he operates his own private learning institution, Durant's Academy in Gallas, St. Thomas, which has been serving that community for over 11 years. He continues to live in the community, having moved there in 2001, and currently serves as president of the Riverview Citizens Association. Mr. Durant is originally from Port Antonio, Portland, but as a micro-university college old boy, would have seen Kingston and so soon took up teaching positions at St. George's College and Excelsior High Schools. He has also taught at Yallas High School in St. Thomas and formerly lectured at the Liberal Arts College of Jamaica. Mr. Durant holds a diploma in education, having been trained in industrial technology at the Michael University College, as well as a Bachelor's of Science, BSc in Education and Sociology, and a master's degree in School Management and Administration. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have someone who is qualified to be your MC for this afternoon, or your moderator, as I would say, this afternoon. And he will assist you with through this presentation, or the presentations that are going to be had, as well as facilitating the Q&A. So without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Aldrich Durant, your moderator for this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. Let me take this opportunity to welcome the new highway from Arborview into Yallahs. For years, we have struggled with bad roads, and finally, it is about to happen. We are grateful, and I wish to express our gratefulness here this evening. Now, the purpose of this meeting is twofold. One, it is to share and to hear. We want to share with you, and we want to hear from you. We want to inform, and we want to educate. Now, what impact will the building of a highway has on your community? We want to know, what are your thoughts? What is it that you're thinking? And we want no one to be afraid. We want you to share with us so that we can understand you and you understand us. Now, if we're going to build a highway, it means that all of you, all of us, are going to be directly involved. And as a result of this, we must be informed. You must have your issues addressed. Now, NEPA plays a very important part in all. This consultation this evening, it's not happening willy-nilly. It's not haphazard, but rather it was carefully planned. The date had to be selected way ahead of time. The venue, the chairperson, those who are invited, and also this information regarding this meeting or this forum had to be published at 3 consecutive weeks. And public notices must be published so that the people who are involved can see these notices and know that, look, we are invited, we must be a part of, we must let our voices be heard. So we're here now to hear and to share. So ladies and gentlemen, all are welcomed also by the chairperson, not just Mr. Shaw. So, without further delay, let me invite Mr. Miguel Nelson from the National Environment and Planning Agency, and he's the manager for application and the Secretariat branch. He's going to share with us this afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Mr. Miguel Nelson. Mr. Nelson is not here?
I am via Zoom.
He's in Zoom. Oh, I'm not sure. Stay right here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, no problem. All right, so let me go ahead then. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right, so the National Works Agency was granted an environmental permit 2016-03017 EP 00018 in January 2018 by the Natural Resources Conservation Authority for the construction of a new highway along the south coast of Jamaica from Harborview to St. Andrew, Harborview in St. Andrew to Yallas in St. Thomas. An environmental impact assessment was conducted for the project and public presentations held on the 21st and the 22nd of November 2017. On the 10th of March 2020, the National Works Agency advised of proposed changes to the approved alignment. Consequently, the National Works Agency was required to prepare an environmental impact statement and conduct a public presentation in respect of the proposed changes. This meeting is being held to provide an opportunity for interested individuals, groups, and/or stakeholders to have a say in the decision-making process. Given the COVID-19 pandemic and the Disaster Risk Management Act orders on public gathering, this meeting is also being broadcasted live on the Jamaica News Network and Zoom to broaden the inclusion process and garner the views of all. The audience should be advised that no final decision has yet been made on the proposed changes to the approved alignment. Participants should note that this public meeting is very important. It is a very important part of the development application review process. The outcome will be submitted to the Natural Resources Conservation Authority to inform the final decision. The agency is observing this process to ensure that the public meeting is undertaken in accordance with the terms outlined in the document titled General Guidelines for Public Consultation, EIA Applications. As the regulator, the agency must remain objective and as such will not participate in making comments or answering questions in relation to the development. Given the proceedings that will follow shortly, the agency now takes this opportunity to share some information with the public. Firstly, a copy of the verbatim minutes of the public meeting is to be submitted to the agency by the applicant within 7 days of the date of the public presentation. The public is allowed up to 21 days after the public presentation to provide written comments to the agency. These comments may be submitted to the Application Secretariat branch of the agency at 10 Caledonia Avenue, Kingston 5, or via electronic mail to applications@nepa.gov.jm. All comments received by the agency will be collated and sent to the applicant for responses to be provided. The issues raised, along with the responses provided by the applicant, are incorporated in the respective submissions to the various committees and the authority, and will facilitate deliberations on the technical merit of the project. A recommendation will be made to the Natural Resources Conservation Authority, which is the body responsible for making the final decision. Please note carefully that the final decision on the application
nigga, fuck me in a Tesla. Nigga rubbing on
the
my
responsibility
thighs,
of the
some
Natural
ketchup.
Resources
Bitch, I'm gay,
Conservation
so you know
Authority.
that I am next up. I got dildo.
As indicated earlier, the agency views a public presentation and public consultation process as extremely important in the application review and decision-making process. Public presentations provide an additional opportunity for stakeholders to hear concerns, make comments, share opinions and views on development projects, and affords the applicant the opportunity to address these concerns, comments, opinions, or views. Please be reminded that the environmental impact statement report for the proposed changes to the approved alignment is available for access by the public at the following locations: the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation's Administrative Building at Morant Bay, St. Thomas, 10 Miles Post Office, Bull Bay, St. Thomas, the Harborview Public Library at St. Andrew, the Yallas Post Office in St. Thomas, the Bull Bay Police Station at Bull Bay, St. Andrew, and the National Environment and Planning Agency's website, which is www.nepa.gov.jm. In the event that you are unable to comment during this meeting, the agency invites you to send your comments to the Application Secretariat branch of the agency at 10 Caledonia Avenue, Kingston 5, or by electronic mail to applications@nepa.gov.jm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Mr. Nelson. Now, based on what he just said, I have noted carefully that at the end of this meeting, a report must be prepared and submitted verbatim within 7 days of this meeting. Additionally, the public has 21 days in which to make suggestions in writing to the Secretariat, and that is at 10 Caledonia Avenue in Kingston 5. That's very important that we take note of this. Now, I asked a question earlier on. If the highway is being built in your community, what impact do you think it will have on your environment? It is for this purpose that an environment impact assessment was done. So, to present to us the findings, I want to invite Dr. Mark Richards from Conrad Douglas and Associates to make such a presentation as to the our findings of the environmental impact. Dr. Richards.
Okay, thank you. Is everyone hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing it loud and clear.
Okay, all right. Let me share my screen because that's where the presentation is going. Mr. Shaw, can you have my screen given the ability to share? The CDA ESTEC presenter.
You are asked to try again, my brother. But okay, while you're trying to get your screen together, let me take this opportunity to say that those who are following us on Zoom, if you have questions, you can send the questions to 876-878-1356, and we'll answer your questions as best as possible. I'll repeat the number, 876-878-1356. Send us your questions now. I would also like to take this opportunity to say a big shout out to China Harbor Engineering Company Limited. They are the contractors for the highway. China Harbor, we say to you, big up yourself. Dr. Richards.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, good evening, everyone online. Thank you for joining us this evening for this very important exercise, the proposed amendment for the consultation for for the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. And please note that this is not the EIA itself. That was completed 2 years ago, and the public meetings for those were held, as Miguel Nelson has said, in November of 2018. This is, in essence, the permittee seeking permission to make amendments to the alignment that has been approved by NEPA via the permit that Mr. Nelson had spoken about. So, for a little context, the permit was issued in January 2018, and it gave NWA the permission to build a road from Harborview to Yalas on a certain alignment. And during the process of finalizing the design and making certain decisions, it was thought that it would be better to tweak the alignment in a number of locations to get the best value for money, and also to ensure the safety of the highway, and also to add a little bit more of the environmental protection that the communities had requested during the EIA process. So right at this moment, we're actually just presenting to you what was done in order to get an approval for the recommended changes that that the contractor has asked the NWA to include in the road alignment. All right. So, what is the project that has been proposed? And the permittee was given a permit, and it outlined all the activities that were included for the development of the original section of the South Coast Highway. And I'm just going to go through a few other slides, which will take us, specifically into the details that the environmental authority had given NWA permission to construct. All right, and so it started out by saying the permit allows for NWA to develop a road between Harborview Bridge and continue eastward along the main road leading to 11 miles Bull Bay, and the road will divert from the existing main road into the hills at 11 miles and go towards South Coast Adventure Park before rejoining the existing road leading to Grandspend and continue on to Albion before it ends at the Yalas River Bridge. So that was the alignment. That's its general alignment. One major departure from the existing main road. The road is supposed to be 17.4 kilometers in length. And the new stretch of road is supposed to be 2.8 kilometers, which should run between 10 miles and 12 miles Bull Bay. All right, and the 2-kilometer road, new alignment will be constructed mainly from excavation through cut and fill, similar to sections of the road between 12 miles and Grandspend. And what they're saying here is that the construction methodology in the new area is quite similar to what is supposed to be done along the existing main road. All right. The new road is proposed to be 4 lanes, so we are upgrading from the 2-lane carriageway that you are now seeing to a 4-lane highway from Harborview to Yalas Bridge. All right. The highway will
7 days a week. Wet. Make that get weak.
And steep bends in the existing road. All bridges should be designed to allow debris flow without affecting the bridge. And then they were the permit looked at the amount of structures to be impacted, and when they did the count, they saw that 391 was to be impacted initially, and these include a number of facilities ranging from homes, church, schools, clinics, jerk huts. The football field in Bull Bay was to be impacted, and we'll see how that comes out as we move along. All right. The proposed highway will be equipped with new and expanded drains. So the NEPA is anticipating that the new highway will improve the drainage facilities along the existing road and in that area generally. So new culverts should be constructed. Flood waters, which currently settle on the main road, will be channeled to improve existing drains. And so NEPA would have understood the situation that exists presently and has put in conditions to ensure that those situations are not brought into the future. All right, so the road will also be raised in some areas to mitigate against inundation and storm surge impacts, which in essence is taking climate change and coastal erosion into account. And the engineer should design to ensure that this is mitigated. The speed limit for the most part will be 80 kilometers, so it will change depending on the location. In built-up areas, in cornery areas, it might change. And the entire project is slated to last 26 months from the start of construction. All right, so that in general is what NEPA anticipated the project will entail, and they have given a permit for that set of activities to be conducted. And what you will see as we go on today is that there isn't much change from that set of activities. The road still starts in the same location, ends in the same location, travels through the same terrain. And so we will get a little bit more detail as we go through the process of looking at the rationale for some of the amendments, why they were done, and how they will be done. All right, so what did CD and A do in order to come up with the rationale and find the conclusions and make the recommendations going forward? And so our assessment methodology is we use remote sensing, like satellite images, Google Earth images, and all the available resources in that area. We reviewed the engineering drawings and the proposals for the change, overlaid them on existing conditions, proposed condition, change condition, to see what some of the impacts would be. We also reviewed the geotechnical survey information, including slope protection methods, and during and after construction. We had to look at the regulatory framework to ensure that whatever is being proposed is not breaching any of the regulatory mandates. We also conducted a noise modeling exercise on a section of the roadway at the start at St. Benedict's Church, where there are some sensitive receptors and some issues that need to be ironed out at that location. So also we did some ground truthing, a significant amount. We actually visited all the areas that changes are proposed. We looked keenly at the ecology of the areas where new areas of roadworks will take place. We took copious photographs and listened to the wildlife in the areas. We conducted some informal interviews with landowners in the areas where the changes will occur. And we carried out a detailed survey of the flora and fauna in the area of new road construction. As we are saying, a significant amount of study was done for the initial EIA. And once you see what the changes are, you will realize that there isn't much departure from those areas of study initially. All right, so assessment methodology, we also, as I said, we did a detailed ground truthing, and we looked at the flora and fauna in the area of where the new road will be constructed. I draw your attention to the image on the screen, and this blue line is the proposed new construction in Mesgar Gardens, and that is where we thought significant impacts on wildlife and ecosystems had the potential of happening. So we did our detailed flora and fauna survey in this area. The blue line, the dark blue line, is the center line, is the proposed center line for the road. And these green lines are the tracks we walked in these areas to do our assessment of flora and fauna within the new alignment. The proposed or the permitted alignment went in this direction and came back here. All right, so we further on, you will see, an overlay of the proposed, now new change, and the initially proposed alignment of the highway. All right, and we also looked at the analysis of potential impacts of the modified design and mitigation measures. And, we also forwarded some information on environmental monitoring and evaluation plan. All right. As I've been saying, the proposed amendments there are really no significant changes to the permitted activities. There are minor changes in the alignment proposed at St. Benedict's Catholic Church. The approach in proximity to the Cane River Bridge, the road alignment in the vicinity of the Bull Bay football field, and minor changes to the alignment at the Pondside community. What we consider to be significant is anything above, let's say, 20, 50 meters outside of the proposed, initial proposed alignment. So we are saying Mesgar Gardens and Grand Spen are significant changes in the alignment because they are 50, 60 meters away from where they were originally planned. So so we have categorized them into major and minor because at St. Benedict's, you will see a 10-meter change, at Bull Bay, probably even less. And then out in Mesgar Gardens, it's more significant relative to the 10 meters out in St. Benedict's. All right. All right, so these now are the projected areas for amendments. And we have Harborview at St. Benedict's. We have Cane River. We have the Bull Bay football field. We have the Pondside community. And we have Mesgar Gardens and the Grand Spen area. So those are 7 areas where changes will occur. And we will spend a little time looking at some of the changes that have been proposed. All right, so this is St. Benedict's Church, and this is a drone image that we have taken. And I am hoping that everybody is familiar with what we're looking at. This is the church at St. Benedict's. So this is the cathedral, and this is the school. This is the existing road, and these are the property boundaries that exist presently. And we can go and look at it at road level, and you can see St. Benedict's School, the chapel. There are walls existing here, and the roadway to the south of those presently. The original plan was for the road, the new highway, the 4-lane highway, to span the existing road exactly. As you can see from this orange line here, was the original planned footprint of the road. The new road alignment is this blue line, and as you can see, it only extends southward for a very small distance, in some cases less than 10 meters south, to move this road farther away from the church and school to meet certain standards. And we look at those later on when we look at our sound model that we had mentioned earlier. All right, so in this area, there's no real significant change to the road alignment. There's no impact of any significance because no significant new properties will be impacted. And so there's really nothing much to focus on here because the permit had already approved the road in this section, and there isn't any significant change. What we will look at later, the significance here is the noise that is generated so close to the school and the church. And we will look at how that will be addressed in the amendment. All right, so the next major, minor alignment change is at the Cane River Bridge, and we all know this location. We're looking at the asphalt plant here, and we're on the eastern edge of the Cane River, and we're looking towards Harborview. And this should have been the alignment of the road in this location. However, we are going to see a change to the north, and the road will now incorporate the existing road, and that will be upgraded. So there is no real new impact in this area, and it's just a reorganization to maximize on what is on the ground and reduce and improve the safety of transition into some of these areas that exist in the Cane River area. So that really isn't a very significant change from our estimation. There are really no significant flora fauna to be assessed in this area, because we're going back into the disturbed alignment, and the EIA had been provided to do a significant change of alignment in this area, and we are saying we are going back to the original alignment of the original existing road. All right, the next one is the Bull Bay football field. And again, this is nothing really significant. We all know Copacabana, and we see the sign coming around this corner. What will happen is the road will move a little bit south to remove its impact on the football field. So the orange line will be moved off the football field to where the blue line is, so the community gets back their full functional football field without any impact from the roadway on this new alignment. So this is an improvement in the road alignment, taking into consideration the concerns of the community and the availability of new lands. Some impacts, some properties will be impacted, but it just means that they will be impacted more because they had been impacted before. All right, so this again, we're saying isn't very significant for the amendment because the original permit had given permission to go ahead. All right, so we are here in pond side now, and we're looking at the movement to the north of the road alignment away from the pond. So there will be no impact on the pond. So in essence, this is an improvement to the environmental protection for the roadways. We know that there are sensitive species living in there, and so we are coming off of the pond to reduce the impact on these sensitive species. All right. So now we come to Mesgar Gardens, which we consider to be a significant departure from the originally approved permitted roadway. And if we are familiar with how this side is Mesgar Gardens, this will in essence be the new alignment will be on this road at this point, and it comes and makes a turn at this post into the hillside here. All right, and typically the old road would have gone further around and been on the other side of this hill. And it would have been, you'd have to have cut and fill on that side also. So what they're doing this time is cutting and filling on this side of that hill. All right, so this is the alignment that has been proposed. Instead of going around the hill and taking pieces out and straightening the existing main road, they are proposing to go into new territory and maintain one proper transition into Grand Spend to improve the safety of the road alignment, the ease of construction, because this construction activity will require us to maintain the roadway activities while the new road is being constructed. Moving it into fresh territory will reduce construction time because less planning, less traffic management, less impact on the public, and so this can be done quickly. Going this route would have impacted the hillside all the way from the Mesgar Gardens turnoff down to Grand Spend. So we thought this was the area where most of the potential impacts could be. So we dedicated a good amount of our survey to analyzing the situation within these hillsides. And we did our walkthrough. We saw that, activities are occurring in there presently. It is solid ground. The area is vegetated. A lot of anthropogenic activities along the way, garbage dumping, all these. We found bee harvesting along the route also. This looks like an area where limestone is being extracted. So there are a number of activities within the footprint of the proposed roadway ongoing. We also did a thorough search for endemics. We were looking in the areas that might be possible habitat for them. There were no evidence found from our assessment, and the similar conclusions were made in the original EIA. So based on those findings and our findings, we are of the opinion that there is really no significant negative impact that can't be mitigated if this new route is approved. All right, so these are some of the results that we got when we did our flora and fauna survey. This is the herpetofauna observed during the assessment. We had our lesser Antillean frog, Jamaican anole, Jamaica gray anole, lizards, snakes, frogs. They were all in there, and we have our Dofar scale outlining, their level of threat and concerns. And as you can see, most of them are not really threatened. Some of them are on the least concerned area of the IUCN ranking. So a detailed survey was done. These are all provided in the document requesting the amendment, and they can be further details can be had from doing these at the libraries that have been announced by Mr. Nelson. All right, so these are just some of the results that have been provided from our survey. All right, so then from Misgar Gardens, we move into Grandspen, and this is the area, existing road in Grandspen heading towards Yallas. The original alignment saw the road coming here, running on top of the existing road, but the amendment is to have the new road further up slope of here in order not to impact too much on the wetlands here, which we know are sensitive species habitats are here in these swamp areas. All right, so this is the existing vegetation at the location that the proposed amendment alignment will traverse. All right, and this just gives us a look at the overlay of the proposed, which is the yellow line, and the newly amended one, which is the blue line. And you can see that the blue line is to the north of the orange line, and they actually meet closer into the town of Yallas. So it's a gentle transition from the hilly slopes back onto the existing road as we approach Yallas. Going forward. All right, so remember we had said we had done some sound modeling based on what the findings of the EIA had suggested. And we're looking here now at St. Benedict's, and this is the eastern approach on my left and the western approach on my right. All right, so everybody's familiar where we are, hopefully. All right, so the model in the EIA had looked at forecasting traffic up to 2035, and they used a standard limit of 45 dBAs for silent zones as defined in the Jamaican noise national standard. However, the JNS explicitly indicates that these standards do not include the mechanical noise from motor vehicles. So in essence, the standards used were not for road traffic, which continually operates in the area. All right, so therefore, we can assess that there really is no national standard for noise impact from motor vehicle within a silent zone. The United States Federal Highway Administration, TNM 2.5, was used to model noise emissions in sound plan in the EIA, based on these criteria that were set above. The conclusions of the modeling was that a noise abatement barrier designed to meet the 45 dBA standard was not feasible because of the height that the wall would have to be to meet the standard of 45. All right. For the EIS, which is what we're presenting here, we looked at the traffic for the same time period. However, we used a criteria of 67 dBA for activity B category within the FHWA, which is the Federal Highway Agency noise abatement criteria, which restricts traffic impacts on noise resulting from the natural and mechanical sources and human activity considered to be usually present in a particular area. All right, so we used the FHWA TNM 2.5 in our noise model in sound plan. All right, and so this is the description of the category of activity that we were looking at and the standard that the international organization uses to assess a roadway impacting on sensitive receptors. All right, so the noise model, the noise abatement barrier designed for impacts approaching or exceeding the 67 dBA standard. Noise barriers designed to provide a 5 to 10 dBA reduction as recommended by the FHWA, and sound levels of 3 dBA or less below the FHWA criterion were defined as approaching the FHWA criterion, and the criterion achieved using a standard 4-meter high noise barrier. So we modeled and we realized that to meet this standard of 67 dBA with room for management, a 4-meter high wall would be necessary. All right. So these are some of the model results that we had. We found that running the model, we found 2 areas to be non-compliant with the projected 2035 traffic without the wall. And once the model is run, those areas are found to be within the standards at the 2035 traffic levels. So in essence, what we're saying is a 4-meter wall constructed in the vicinity of the St. Benedict's Church is adequate to ensure that the required road standards are met for a heavily trafficked road. All right, so when we looked at all of these activities and new impacts, we found that there were really no new impacts to be expected from the realignment because the old alignment had cuts in same general areas and the same results of the ecological surveys from the original EIA were observed in the areas where the new alignment will run. So we're saying there are no real new impacts to be expected with the realignments being proposed. The major realignment at Mesgar Gardens and Grand Spend will improve the safety and traveling time of the roadway. It will also improve the drainage of the area, reduce impact on the wetlands in Grand Spend, and no greater impact than the original proposed alignment will be realized. And then one of the things that came out is that the reduced construction costs for the highway, if you spend less time building it because of conflicts with existing road traffic, then time is money. And so you will get your road faster and start feeling the benefits. The realignment at St. Benedict's will ensure noise standards are met at the school and the church. And the inclusion of the 4-meter high sound barrier should also ensure that the standards are effectively adhered to. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Richards. Now, Dr. Richards wanted to stand by because we have questions and answers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to recommend that you keep your questions relevant. We're here to talk about the highway. Let's focus on the highway. Any departure will not be tolerated. Now, Dr. Richards, you're there? I think I'll start by asking, where has the highway will now proceed into the hills? Does that mean that the roads will be very slopy, high hills and valleys to descend, mountains to climb? Dr. Richards?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Okay.
I was saying,
All right,
now the question.
well,
You heard the question.
The fact of the matter is, right now, going from Mesgar Gardens to Grand Spend is a steep incline, right? So that is, we can't avoid that. So because Mesgar Gardens is on the top of the slope and Grand Spend Road is at the bottom.
Okay.
If you use the existing road, you have to make that transition.
No, I was wondering.
With the new alignment, it will be an easier transition without much corners. And it will improve, as I said, the drainage of the area also.
Okay. I have two
Yeah,
questions.
So I don't think you will see much of a difference in elevation between what exists now and what is to come.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can send your questions via WhatsApp at 876-878-1356. Send your questions now. From WhatsApp, how will the highway impact the 4 entrances of Mesba Gardens community? The 4 entrances of the Mesba Garden communities. That's a WhatsApp question.
Oh, and that's for. All right. Well, the thing is, we weren't really focusing on the 4 entrances of the Mesgar Gardens. We were looking at the areas where the alignment has been changed, and I'm not seeing any entrances to Mesgar Gardens being impacted by that alignment. So the pre-existing impact from the originally permitted highway will remain.
Let me take another one from WhatsApp, then I'll open the floor to my brothers and sisters who are here. This one says, will there be blasting when digging into the grounds at Mesga Garden or beyond Orion Drive? When digging behind Orion Drive, will there be blasting?
One minute.
Oh, I see. All right.
Hello?
No.
No, what we're saying is the permit requires that any blasting to be done has to be approved. We're not sure if any blasting is required, but I guess once the details are ironed out, then all of those will come into play. I will defer to NWA or Stanley Consultants for more details on that.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, I now open the floor. You can say who you are and ask your questions, please. Is there a roving microphone?
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Espute. I live in Copacabana in 8 Miles, Bull Bay. I was interested to hear, Mr. Chairman, that there's going to be a noise barrier built by St. Benedict's Church and School. And I believe I heard that the figure was, is it 5 meters, did I hear? 4 meters. But it's not clear to me, Mr. Chairman, where that 4 meters starts. Because if you start it at the road and go 4 meters, you don't reach the wall, the top of the wall. Mm-hmm. So I don't see how it would have any effect. Is what the consultant's saying, that the 4 meters is going to start at the top of the wall, in which case it goes 4 meters up in the sky? Or is it going to start down on the road, in which case it doesn't seem to have any impact?
Mr. Consultant.
That's
will
my
you
first
please-
question, but maybe you wish to have that answered before I give the second
Yes,
question.
Mr. Consultant, will you please respond to Mr. Espu's question?
Okay, based on the models that we have done, the 4-meter high wall at road level, if I could go back, really does mitigate the breaches that we saw without the wall. The permit requires a 70 dBA at the boundary of the road.
So-
And with the wall, all measurements are below 70.
So you're going to build a second wall to the south of the present wall. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Mhm.
And that wall will start at ground level and go up pathway up the present wall.
It will be at road edge and 4 meters high.
And the sound that would travel from the road to the church, which goes over that wall, I don't know how that's going to mitigate that wall, that sound. If it goes over the wall and up to the school and the church.
Okay, Mr. Espu, the thing is, the model that we have run has indicated that the 4-meter wall reduces the impact of the road traffic at the locations within the school and within the church.
So the sound that would go through the ground behind the wall, that is what is being cut down. So if you happen to live behind the wall where the earth is, you wouldn't hear so much sound. But it's not clear to me, sir, how your model could suggest that the sound which rises and goes over the present wall to the church is going to be in any way reduced by a wall that is much lower than the present wall. I question the validity of your model, sir, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, you have that right, sir.
And secondly, sir, my final question.
Yes.
I noticed you didn't say anything about the impact of the road on the African Martyrs Catholic Church. The original alignment went right through the church, demolishing the church, the clinic, the school, and the pastoral center. Is your present alignment going to do the same thing?
Mr. Espu, as I said before, we were looking at 6 locations where the changes have been proposed in alignment. There is no proposed change of alignment at the African Methodist Church.
No, sir. African Martyrs Catholic Church.
I didn't hear that.
It's the African Martyrs Catholic Church.
Okay, yes, there is no proposed change in alignment at the African Martyrs Catholic Church.
Which means that it's going to be demolished. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, you said you only would take questions about the road. And this question is about the road, sir.
Yes.
What will be the arrangements for the relocation of the church, school, and clinic and pastoral center? I know that's not a question for the environmental consultant.
Right.
Because he only is going to tell you about lizards and snakes. I guess it's really a question for the NWA.
I know the NWA is listening, so I'm sure that your questions will be answered in due time. Mr. Shaw, my brother here has been waiting for a while. He's very eager about asking his question, so I'm going to ask you to just give him a chance to speak.
A pleasant afternoon, all. I'm Stephen English, and I'm the president of the Mesgar Gardens Association. Now, I imagine that the presentation is not complete, so all my questions may not be applicable at this point in time, but I'm going to seek to address a few of them. The first question from Mesgar Gardens, which mentioned ingress and egress, which is the entrances to the community. You indicated that you were not looking at all 6 access points because your alignment only covered one portion of it. Now, the overlay which I saw, it doesn't show entirely Mesgar Gardens community and the extent to which it will be impacted. The first proposal which we were made privy to had several areas in Mesgar Gardens being affected. And this new proposal which we're seeing now, it just shows a small portion of Mesgar Gardens. I'm not certain if I am to believe that the other areas which were initially meant to be impacted are going to still be impacted, or what we are seeing on the image earlier is the only portion of Mesgar Gardens which will be impacted. I would like some clarity on that, please, because the entire community has concerns as to how they will be able to enter and exit the community.
Okay, Mr. English, if you look at the screen, this here is the Mesgar Gardens community. I'm figuring this is one entrance, this is another entrance, this is another one. This one also?
That's a part of Mesgar Gardens community in the 14 miles area. Now, further left is a large portion of Mesgar Gardens community, which this image doesn't capture. So,
okay.
Yes, so I'm not certain what to make of that.
Well, Mr. English, as I had said earlier out, we are looking at 6 specific locations. And this location is the one we were engaged to analyze. This stretch here between this blue shade, yellow shade, all the way to this blue shade. Those are where we were asked to investigate. And that's what we did.
Okay, but the challenge that we have now, sir, is that all the questions which will be coming at you from Mesgar Gardens has to do with the remainder of Mesgar Gardens and not that area which you had investigated, because no one lives there. People are concerned about the areas where they live and how they are going to be affected. Their properties which will be affected, the noise issues which we're bound to face because it's very bad at the moment. I can imagine it will only get worse. The dust, yes. We want to know if whilst the road is going to be constructed, if traffic will be passing through the community. We want to know, we would like a breakdown of the properties which will be directly impacted, and among other questions which will come at you. I can appreciate what you've presented, but it doesn't answer any of the questions which we have. None of our concerns, and I can guarantee you that the reason people showed up or tuned in is to get answers to these, and we're not getting any answers. So I'm not certain if the answers will come after in somebody else's presentation, or this is the extent of it. Please provide some clarity.
All right, so Mr. English,
yes,
there
sir.
is a requirement for an environmental management plan to be implemented during construction, and I'm sure that will also address some of the issues that you have brought up, the dust, the noise. So those are things that will come from the client once they speak.
Are we going to get answers to those today or not?
Okay, I will help Mr. English. In the presentation earlier on, it was stated that you can make written comments, write your concerns, and you'll have 21 days in which to do that, and those will be addressed thereafter. So I'm going to invite you, sir, to write your comments and submit them to 10 Caledonia Avenue, Kingston 5. You have 21 days in which to do so. Mr. Shaw.
Okay, there is a Another question that was texted in reference to Cane River and the current bridge. Will there be a new bridge, and also the impact to the residents traveling from St. Benedict's to Bull Bay? Not sure if Mark wants to take it or someone from Stanley's.
Well, there is the proposal for a new bridge at Cane River. So that will be constructed, but because the existing bridge will still be there, I'm not seeing much of an impact on the movement throughout that construction process. But I'm almost sure there will be a construction management plan that will include traffic management, that will include impact management, which is also required by the permit. And so those things will be implemented. So it shouldn't be the typical excessive impacts that we are anticipating. And one of the reasons we were saying Mesgar was also rerouted is simply because of the difficulty in managing a construction site while there is active traffic also on the same road around those winding corners. So I am sure those things are being developed and will be shared at some point. I just wanted to clarify with Mr. English that, we have a TORs that we were engaged on, and it included, as I've said, the 6 areas that we have looked at. So we just want you to bear with us, and I'm sure at some point, you will get all the answers that you require.
All right. A question was raised about the church, and I'm going to ask Alfonso Marshall, who is the project manager, to say something as it relates to that, as well as the issue. I see persons raising questions about property and how they are going to be treated with in terms of acquisition. Mr. Marshall can say something on those.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to stand here. With respect to the church at St. Benedict's, the alignment has been shifted south to allow for less impact on the church and the school. And as has been said by Dr., that the height of the wall that to be built or proposed to be built will in fact serve to reduce the noise impact on the school. We're guided by the fact that the sea is right to the south, so we can't go too far there, that side, but measures will be put in place to ensure that the impact of noise on the school and the church will be within the levels that are approved. With respect to Mesgar Gardens, of course, we are very much concerned, and we share the concerns of all residents regarding the potential impact of the highway on that community. A major change that has been made, we will try to avoid impacting the service road so that access to the community will not be severely impacted. And all the existing access points will be maintained, but will be controlled. As we have indicated in the details of the alignment, there's going to be a median for most of the corridor, and there'll be openings at strategic locations to allow access in and out. 2 major access points are provided, which allow for egress and access in and egress out. And that will ensure that the movements that currently is experienced by the residents, their movements will be maintained in that regard. So that is a detail that just to provide some assurance that will be addressed. There will be some properties that will be impacted, and especially to the exit end of the shift in alignment. But under the contract, under the project, clearly we have quite a number of properties that will be impacted, unfortunately, because of the widening of the corridor. And there will be some impact. There will be impact on some properties, not many, on that side of Mesgar Gardens. Regarding noise and dust, well, again, Dr. Richards can speak to that. Of course, during construction, that will be generated, and efforts will be made to minimize such impacts, and that those issues will be addressed during the course of the construction. And where necessary, measures will be implemented in an orderly manner. There will be no traffic will be going through the community, because once the works are going on, the existing road will be there to allow for traffic to move. If there are to be traffic going through, if for any unforeseen reason, then that will be managed and controlled by the contractor. The issue came up regarding Cane River Bridge. The existing two-lane bridge will remain in use for the traffic going east rather, and a new bridge will be constructed south of that, which will allow traffic to go towards Kingston, two-lane bridge. There's going to be a roundabout just to the west of the new bridge, the existing bridge, into which the new bridge will also merge. And that is to allow, because of the median, which will restrict the cross movements of traffic going north, east and west, north and south, east and west, the roundabout will allow traffic that is emerging from west of that intersection to come and to make a turn to go to Kingston. And similarly for those who are from Copacabana who want to go to Morant Bay, they'll come up the roundabout and turn and go towards that direction. So we are constrained by all these factors along the corridor, but measures are being put in place to ensure that movements can be executed by people who are currently accessing going east or west. But they'll have to travel a little distance in some cases for that movement to be done and done safely. And that is what is very important. Question?
My good lady, you now have the floor. It's coming your way.
All right, good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. Okay, so I have my name, Shanique Dunchi from the community of Wikiwaki. Well, initially we were told that we would have been affected by this road improvement or expansion. Red signs or red markers were put in our yards to say, oh, this would be the place that will be affected, right? Most of us, the signs or the red markers are in the back of our yards, literally at our back doors. We want to know, because we came here today to find out how exactly we will be affected, if this is true, that's one. Two, if this is still a thing that we will all be affected on the part that is closest to the road. And three, in terms of noise and all of that, I hear you say about the wall and the expansion of the 4-meter thing, but we really want to know what is the plan, because nobody has said anything official to us. We've only seen red markers in our yards, and that's about it. I understand the environmentalist cannot give me all the answers, but I would hope somebody can give us some answers. Because even on my road, it is said to be that an entire house will be affected. So we just want to know, well, how do we proceed and what are the real impacts? Because now we're just hearing a lot of glossing over things. So, anybody?
Thank you. I'm going to ask Stephanie from Stanley Consultants to assist in answering some of those.
All right. So if you've seen a red marker, likely it was set by either a surveyor who's doing cadastral surveying or one of the surveyors from the contractors. So it probably is an indication of some level of impact. What we're presenting here today are the changes that were made. So these would have been impacts that were likely there from the first time we had this public hearing. So if you were informed of an impact from before, it's likely still the impact unless you are part of the changes that were presented here today. I don't know if that kind of answers your question. So Wiki-Waki will be affected. The road will be going from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. So you can imagine that narrow 2-lane road is now going to be going to 4 lanes. So, okay, that kind of help. So you would have been served a Section 3 notice from, yes, you got served a Section 3 notice, then the next would be a Section 5 notice. Then you'd get an offer letter from the National Land Agency for the portion that is affected. And then there's a whole process. So you'll be somewhere during that process. They would have given you a Section 3, a Section 5, given you an offer. There would be a valuation on your property. There's an entire process. Right, so this is all discussed with the National Land Agency. The National Land Agency deals with that.
All right, so I could answer, but let me allow Mr. Marshall to do that.
The National Land Agency is the authority that deals with procuring lands for the government to execute these projects that has been implemented by the government. They have been advised of all the properties so far that subject to any further change that has been impacted, and they are the process to procure these lands are in progress. They have served us. This has been gazetted. We have served this to the communities, Section 3, Section 5 notices. National Land Agency have been advised about these properties, and they have taken that ball and are moving with it to make contact with the property owners that are impacted and to pursue the process of discussing, negotiating, procuring the lands. And this is where all the property owners have full right to make sure that their interests are protected as part of the negotiation process. Unfortunately, with the widening of the corridor, the impact on established houses are unavoidable. To the extent that we can minimize impact, that's what we're trying to do as far as possible. And as part of this new shift in alignment, we are making every effort to minimize our impact. But as you can understand, we're dealing with a hilly, mountainous terrain, and to achieve the desired proper engineering roadway to make it safe and move quickly, there will be unfortunate impacts. The issue is to make sure that the compensation for and
there is one thing that I just need to assist in clarifying. As it relates to the acquisition of land for the road project, the government, through the National Land Agency, negotiates with the property owners. What we have found, not just here, but in a lot of the projects that we undertake, is that persons are living on lands, but they are not necessarily owners. So you have tenants, and when I say owner, I'm talking about having a registered title. In a lot of instances, persons are living on properties that are unregistered, or they are part of an estate, meaning the person who originally owned it has died. And so in those situations, what will happen is that the NLA will negotiate as it relates to the structure and not so much the land. Sometimes you find that there are 3, 4, 5, 6 persons who say that they have an interest in this structure because grandmother died and left it, and all kinds of things happen with those things. So there is a single answer that we can give you as it relates to the acquisition process. What we can say is that where persons have particular issues we are prepared to take those on board so that we can have them resolved amicably.
Mr. Shaw, there's a very interesting question here. I think you have answered it somewhat, though. The person says, if my land is affected, when will I hear from government about my compensation? So that's a question they're asking. Another question that I find interesting is, will there be a toll plaza?
There's not going to be any tolling of this road. It's a free road. As it relates to when persons can hear, as Stephanie explained, there's a process. So having been served, the government acquires land under these types of projects through what is referred to as the Land Acquisition Act. The Act specifies what should be done in these circumstances. So you'll get a Section 3 notice. Section 3 is notice to everybody along the alignment. So everyone who owns a property between Harborview and, say, Yallas would have been served a Section 3. This is to say we are going to be doing this project and your property might be impacted. When the design is then completed, we'll then do a Section 5, because at this point, we'll know that you are going to be specifically impacted, because sometimes, like what we're here discussing now, a change has been made to the alignment. So the persons who would have been impacted, let us say, near the football field, having shifted the alignment, those persons who would have been served with the Section 3 will not be served with a Section 5 because the alignment would have been shifted. Or those persons who might have been served with a Section 5, we may no longer need to take your property. So the process ends right there. Once the Section 5 notice is served, that is where now the negotiations start between the property owner and the National Land Agency for compensation. If the National Land Agency hears nothing from the property owner within a certain period of time, it is then moved to Section 9. Section 9 is where we do compulsory acquisition. So you will have a hearing where the Commissioner of Lands sits as a judge. You will come either in person, or you will get an attorney to represent you, and you make your case as to why is it that you should get X plus and not X, and so on. So that is the process. And then there is a Section 15 and so on. So in terms of payment for the land, that is done through the National Land Agency, the process having been completed, and it comes back to the agency where the NLA says we have completed the negotiations, these persons are certified for payment, and the process continues like that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, one last question. So in terms of where I live, or the red marker was placed literally at the back door. Now, with the expansion of the road, and I don't know if you know the area that well, but there are a lot of trucks here. And trucks, yes, I know that they affect noise, but also, do you think that, well, in the event that damage is sustained to the house from the constant traffic and or just heavy building and moving to the house, right? Will we be compensated for that? Is there a condition that says, if in the event of this happening, whatever event happening and the house is damaged, will we be compensated? That's my final question.
The short answer is any damage that is occasioned or caused by or through the construction, you're well within your right to make a claim on the contractor for compensation. So that process or that structure is there for you to be compensated where damage is done to your property.
Mr. Shaw, this person has 4 questions, but one is answered already. The first one says, how will the amendments impact the time travel from Yallas to Harborview? Who wants to take that one?
The amendments will have a similar travel time to what the previous design had. The design has just been tweaked a little bit, as was presented by Conrad Douglas. So it's going to be very, very similar travel time, unless you're talking about from today versus the design. The travel time will be much faster, generally. As you know, currently along the corridor, it's very, very windy, very hilly. Trucks stop the flow of traffic because they're very slow. The new alignment will have 4 lanes. It will be a lot straighter, so you will be able to drive a lot quicker through Harborview to Yallus.
Question 2. How will the roadway impact Albion Estate? Will the surface road or buildings be affected?
Albion Estate is not expected to have much impact. As we go through Albion, the road actually goes back to only 2 lanes. So when you get to Albion, that's close to the Yallus Bridge, it's only 2 lanes. We're trying to improve drainage. So as we put the drain on the north side of the road, there will be some impact to perhaps the back of some properties as they're constructing that drain, but it's expected to be very minimal impact on that portion of Albion Estate.
The next question would have been for Dr. Richards. I don't know if he's still listening, but the question is being asked, can you please show the roadway design from Grandspen to Yallus? Your presentation stopped at Grandspen. Is Dr. Richards still with us?
Yeah, man, I'm putting it up now.
Can I repeat the question?
No, man, this is, you asked for the design. So Grandspen is here, and this is towards Yallus. If you can see the cursor moving, so Grandspen is here. Yallus, this is towards Yallus.
Okay. Thank you very much. The floor is now open. Is there a question? Come, sir. Come forward.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is O.G. Rastology Francis, Indigenous Peoples representative and the operator of Three Finger Jack New Heritage Site. My question this evening is how sensitive your project is to Indigenous Peoples law.
I'm not sure exactly who will take that one.
Well, we have done the legal framework analysis for the amendments that we have seen. We've looked at the heritage laws. We've looked at the property rights. I would be happy if you could, enlighten us as to the indigenous laws that you are talking about.
Well, in respect to Three Finger Jack location, we are talking about maroon heritage and the fact that on the 5th of September 1991, the United Nations declared that the indigenous people of Jamaica must be recognized, of course, and there's an ILO 169, which is the law that protects indigenous people. I am the representative, and I am located at Three Fingers Jack. My argument here this evening is to represent those without titles. Because earlier on you said that your machinery, your instrument, is prepared to deal with persons with titles. I do not know. There is no representation for those without titles. I am now managing the area, and it is clear that a number of persons are living in the area, and they're classified as indigenous people, mainly so, as you ask a question for my clarity, that I would help you with the clarity, that there are 4 indigenous people groups in Jamaica, and that the 4 groups are Maroon, Kumina, Revival, and Rastafari. In the 7-mile region, going out to 12-mile region is to be manipulated by a lot of persons who use the area. But specifically, we are talking this evening that the land rights of other persons without title should be recognized under the Indigenous Peoples Law. So therefore, they do have right, and in fact, they have greater right than the persons who own title, because some of these persons are at the location for 30 years. 30 years location means traditional ownership. I thank you.
Sir, let me just assist you. As Mr. Nelson has said, there is a period in which all your concerns, and I'm sure if this is supplied, it has to be considered in the process. So please, if you could ensure that it's brought to us, brought to the attention of the regulators within the time frame, I'm sure that it will be considered.
Sir, you have 21 days in which to submit your concerns.
Thank you very much, sir. The additional question here, from a legal standpoint, that I realize, who is speaking?
This is Mark Richards, and I'm saying, remember that we are recording this meeting.
Thank you.
And everything will be supplied to the regulators for them to make their decisions.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you said you're recording it, because at this minute, I'm going to make a declaration as to the violation of the constitutional rights of all the people in this meeting, mainly so that under the Indigenous People Right and in the contract between communities, Mesmer Garden and the rest of the communities, that we don't understand the arrangement of that kind of a contract and what is taking place. But we are saying this evening that there is no printed literature. No one can look at the diagram, and it is a violation to the people's constitutional rights. Not much people here have access to internet and phones to look at. I would ask you, please, to balance that side of the area, because persons here in the meeting was not exposed to your diagrams before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, sir, the floor is now open. Voice your concern.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Noel Eaton, otherwise known as Sugar. Yeah, my name is Noel Eaton, otherwise known as Sugar. Owns the property Sugar for Two at the corner Wikiwaki and the apartment complex across the road. I also own a house in Almaville. Now, my concern is this. I see all the measurements and all the dotted line on my apartment complex, where the road come hit right on the corner of the house, of my apartment. You can't get into that apartment or get round that side of the house. The road is right there. Now the question that my gate will be moved, the driving gate, I will lose 7 car park in the apartment when this takes place. Now the law says, or the building regulation said, when you build your property, you must be so many feet from the road. Now, how are we going to handle these breaches? If you save the apartment by moving back, you won't be able to move back enough that those breaches are not in place. Nobody will buy those property from us again. That's a dead stock. How we handle that? Over my apartment, over my business place, the road come right from the front door of my business. A man tell me, say, I cut off the little projection. So I can't go into my business, you take away the park from my business. You take away the park. When I apply for the license, I see, he said, I have to move in the building to provide park because we can't park on the road. So now you take away my park, so you take away my business. You take away my sewage line out on the front page. What do I do? And then you tell me, say, I take off one little piece of my building. You go to Almaville and my other property, and you cut in 20 feet from the fence in my property. No. It not destroy me right, left, and center. The last man I had an interview with, I says to him, save me apartment and take the whole of the business place and go on with it. He saying, him would have said yes, but he can't tell me yes. Can you answer some question on that for me, please?
All right. I am going to try and see if I can answer the question as it relates to the title and the usual statements, clauses that are attached to the title. This is something that has been recognized, where it is that there are boundary stipulations on title, and it is a conversation that I know the Commissioner of Lands would have been having with the relevant municipal authorities. So the government having come in, taken in a bit of your land, or anybody's land for that matter, the government does have the power, because remember, hold on, remember, all lands belong to government. What we have, you and I, all we have is an interest in the land. And attached to that interest is money. All right? So government owns everything, even the land on which we're standing now. Now, so that particular issue that you have raised about not being able to dispose of your property if you want to, that is not something that is likely to happen, because whatever modifications need to be made, I'm sure will be made through the relevant entities. And I mean, all titles reside with the National Land Agency. The head of the agency is the Commissioner of Lands. So I don't think you should worry too much about that. As it relates to the parking issue as well, that is something that is usually stipulated when you're getting approvals. And that is something that we at NWA would have looked at and would have said to, in commenting on the plan, for and on behalf of the municipal authority, to say you must have so many parking based on the footprint of your building. That again is something that will certainly have to be amended, given the fact that we would have taken in a bit of the car park for the purpose of the road, because really we're looking at the greater good. All right, so those are things that are unique to you that we can deal with outside of here.
Additionally, I'll say to my brother, let not your heart be troubled. You, hold on. You will always have a redeemable interest in your property, okay? So whatever happens, you will be redeemed eventually. Yes, you will be. Okay, a final question. Come forward, my brother, with your final question.
Good evening. If you ask me, this presentation is about flora, fauna, frogs, lizards, ponds, church, schools. Wouldn't it be the forum for the people that will be affected?
This is the second go-around as it relates to this bit of the North Coast Highway. As a matter of fact, the chairman could tell you that it's not, well, not even the second, this is the third go-around, because we actually had a meeting at Albion. We had a meeting further up in Bulby, and this here now, is the third one. So we have had engagements as it relates to the project. We continue to be available to speak to persons as it relates to individual interest. We have been doing this for many, many months now. Mr. Marshall's office has been meeting with persons one-on-one. I certainly would have spoken to persons one-on-one. officers in my department would have done so. So if there is an issue that you have that is personal to you, then we are prepared to address it. Chair?
We have answered to the best of our abilities, my brother, and I want to assure you that the purpose of this meeting was to listen and for you to speak. We have been listening and you have been speaking. Now, they say that there is no excuse to ignorance. Whatever was discussed this evening, whatever is contained in the environmental impact assessment report, it is for the public to view. So in closing, I'm going to invite you to take an in-depth look at what is contained in the report. And the report is available at the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, the administrative building in Morant Bay, St. Thomas. It's available at the 10 Miles Post Office, Bull Bay, St. Thomas, Arborview Public Library, St. Andrew, Yallas Post Office, St. Thomas, Bull Bay Police Station, Bull Bay Main Road, Kingston, National Environment and Planning Agency Document Center, 11 Caledonia Avenue in Kingston 5, or for those of you who want to go online, you can visit www.nepa.gov.jm or www.nwa.gov.jm. And if you have your concerns, you know that whatever happened here this evening, a comprehensive report will be prepared and submitted within 7 days. And then you have 21 days in which to put your concerns in writing so that your voices can be heard. If you missed the opportunity this evening and you're watching us on whatever medium, Zoom or whatever, remember, you can participate by voicing your concerns in writing and send it to 7 Caledonia Avenue, Kingston 5, or just go online and let your voices be heard. You were wonderful. You have been good. And I want to commend you for the way in which you have conducted yourselves. And I want to wish for you a very pleasant evening and safe driving on the highway. I look forward to driving it myself. Have a blessed evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.